Well, I guess it's time to get to work. Let's come over to the desk and let's. What's this? There's a box. What's in the box? Wrenches. Oh, that's right. Was doing this project over here. Aha! It's gonna organize my wrench drawer. That's right. I went to bed last night with this horrible, horrible thing. Let me explain this to you. We're gonna make this work today. How to use Aspire to take a shape and make it work. I was watching Seth Meyers last night, and he's doing his broadcast from home, and he was complaining about how he had to completely retake his late night monologue because the dog next door started barking and birds and trees were singing. And I can totally empathize with him now because this is now like the 6th time I've tried to do this. There was conversation about how much rice we have in the pantry, and I had to restart that one. Anyway, here we go. So I've got my Vectric Aspire set up over here. I've got my drawer size right there, and we're going to do the thing that I hate the most, and that is taking a picture and making a CNC. So many of you have said, hey, how do I take this picture and carve it out of wood? I'm going to show you how not to do it and kind of how to do it. So up here, I'm going to grab a bitmap, or in this case, a JPEG, and I'm going to start with the bad one first. So I've got this picture here. It's going to take a second to load. So I've got the 3 wrenches I want to do cutouts for. What I showed you yesterday was the box wrenches standing on end. These are going to sit flat so you can actually see them in this position. And what I want to do is I want to make a line around that wrench like so. Okay, if I just told it to do a toolpath right now, it would give me nothing. In fact, I'm going to close my toolpaths over here. Not that. There we go. Get that out of the way for now. So to do this, we've got this selected, and I'm going to select, we'll go ahead and do crescent outline for my working layer. You can see I've got some layers set up right here. That'll make a little bit more sense as we go. And to do this, I'm going to give it the bird. It says trace bitmap, fit vectors to selected bitmap. Okay, so it's going to go from there, and it's going to give me in the black and white mode, which is what I like to use for this. It's going to show me either light or dark what it wants to do. And what I'm looking for is a position on this slider where I can see the edges of the wrenches. So all the way to the left, it's going to highlight just the really light things. All the way to the right, it's going to highlight the dark things. And somewhere in the middle is a magic number. So like right about here, I can see a nice line across the bottom edge of this wrench, but then up here I lose it on that carpet. I chose that carpet on purpose. You can see that there's lots of light and dark in here. If I go a little bit darker now, I start to get an edge across this top edge, but now I'm starting to lose this jaw and this jaw on those two. So let's say right about there. If I hit preview, it's going to start thinking through that. And all those red lines are the vectors it's chosen. Okay, now you can see right here, my wrench actually goes out to here, but it's done the vector on the inside. Okay, now when I hit apply, let's see if it actually works today. Oh, no. Oh, and close. And I think this is where it crashes. Oh, this is the first time it has not crashed on me. All right, and what I want to do in here is I want to get some of these vectors out of the way. So right there, see there's no line along the top edge of that. Okay, now I've got to get rid of all this noise up here. So right now this is one big group, but if I right click that, I select it, and waiting. There we go, Ungroup Objects. Now I can select some of those things. Oh, there it is. I was waiting for that. Not responding. So what's happened, there's so many vectors in here that computer's just like, dude, I can't even deal with all this. And to put some perspective on this, this is an 8-core i7 with a graphics card, and it's still like, dude, no, I'm not doing this right now. So I got to restart the program. It's close program. Poof. Oh, look at that. I miss hiking. Okay. So back to Aspire. Wrench drawer insert. Okay, so this time, right back where I started before, I've got all my layers set up there. What I did for my next picture is I picked a nice dark flat background. And not even the best thing I could find, it's just what I could do in a pinch. And you can see here, like if I wanted to do details off this ruler, that bright spot right there would really mess things up. But this will work just fine. All right, so what I want to do, same thing, we're going to give it the bird. Got the black and white. And right off the bat, you can see I've got clear edges all the way around this. I lose a little bit of the jaw here, and this one's almost completely disappeared. So we're going to back that way the heck off. And you can see this bloom starting right here on this ruler as I go farther and farther to white. So what I want to do is get as far to the left as I can without getting a lot of artifacts in that black. Right about there-ish. Preview, and you can see right off the bat there's just not that much there. Apply, close, and right off the bat you can see my computer's responding a lot faster. All right, for this next part, I want to get this background out of the way. It might be tempting just to click on the graphic and delete it, but we want that there for later. So what this did when I imported this is it created a layer called bitmap layer. We're going to turn that off. Okay, we got a bunch of noise in here, and this is fine for now. So I got my bitmap, I changed it to vectors. I could see this. It would spend a lot of time putting dots where all these little pink things are. But first thing we need to do is resize this. I know that this ruler here is 12 inches and this ruler here is 6 inches. So I'm just going to draw a box that is 12 by 6. Drop that on there. And to make life easy for me, I'm going to change this to a different layer. We'll put it in the crescent working layer, mostly just so it gives it a different color. And let's drag this to the middle of the screen-ish. And then what I want to do is I'm going to zoom in right here. I'm going to put the corner of that, line it up with the corner there, and it needs to rotate a little bit. So what I can do is I can grab that rotate point there. Just kidding. You know what? Undo. I thought I could move the rotate point. I guess not. We'll just do it the hard way. So we're going to rotate that a little bit until it's straight, lined up with the edge of that ruler. Okay, so there's two grab handles right here. The hollow one resizes. The solid one is my rotate. Go back down here. Line that up on the corner. So that's pretty straight. You can see that this ruler is a little out of square. At this point, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I am going to put a little bit of space around that crescent wrench, so there's a little bit of room for error. Okay, the other thing I notice is that the height is almost perfect. I've got 6 inches top to bottom, but the width is not, which means I was holding my camera at a little bit of an angle. But if I grab that side handle and move it over just a little bit, wrong way, I want to make it bigger to match the box. And I want to kind of split the difference between the top and the bottom, since that is at an angle. So we'll go a little bit smaller. Too small. And if you zoom in, you can get a little bit more control over your movement. Okay, so that looks good right there. We've got the size of my wrenches to match the size of my combination square. So that's 12 inches by 6 inches. Now I can get rid of all that extra stuff. So I'll turn crescent outline off for a second. Now what I want to do is have just these crescent wrenches. And to do that, I need to ungroup this layer, Ungroup Objects, onto Objects layer. Now I have individual things. Now I could go through here and I can delete, select and delete, select and delete. I can be doing this all bloody day. If I go right to left, then I get the intersection. Really the easiest way to do this is to select one, hold the shift key, select two, holding the shift key still, select three. Nope, I did that backwards. Select all, that was Control A. Now holding the shift key, I want to deselect 1, 2, 3 wrenches. So right now everything's selected except those 3 wrenches, and I hit delete. And there's my wrenches. Okay, now if you've done V-carving with weird fonts, you'll know that when it gets to this edge, it's going to be spending all day trying to carve that thing out. We want to smooth that out. And also I've got some weird things like this guy right here. The easiest way to fix this is I'm just going to grab my line tool, take a line, oop, I need my snap on. Smart snapping is on. There we go. See that little dot that it makes there? That means it's snapping to that line. I'm just going to go there and there. Finish. And I'm going to trim off this excess right there. Okay, these little ones I'm not going to worry about. The other thing I want to do is on this wrench, is I want to close this off because I don't want it to make a cutout around that jaw because I'll want to put that in either open or closed. Fact, something else I'm going to do, because I might put that in all the way open, right? What if I do this? There and there. Close. Oh, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and carve this like this and redo this later. Next time, I'm going to reshoot this, but with the jaws all the way open. But for now, I'm going to take that line out of there. This is just instructional right now. We'll do a clean version later. Okay, so I'm going to close that off. Use my scissor tool right here, that interactive trim. Something happened in there. Okay, so these did not join. I'm going to try drawing that line again. Make sure I get my snap connector there. And a snap connector there. And now, will it let me cut it? Still does not like that. Okay, so the other thing I can do is I can select those two, and there's a tool down here on this bottom row of Edit Objects. It tells it to join those vectors. And so it's just going to say anywhere there's a space, I'm going to hook those together. And so now when I go to this, aha, there it takes it out. Okay, we'll do the same thing here. I'm going to take a line, snap from a corner to a corner, and it does not have to be exact because of what I'm going to do in a minute. That one worked. Let's go ahead and take this little hunky thing off here just to make it clean. There to there. Scissors. And close. Got that little weird thing there. I think that might actually be part of the wrench, but I'm going to cut it off. And I'm going to run a test on a cheap piece of wood just to see how it all works, and I'll do a final version later. Boom. And one last line. There. Okay, and then we can do a quick inspection on this. I've got this open closed object. So right here, that's closed. Closed one. Okay, so this one right here says I've got an open shape, and it doesn't give me the option to join it. It looks like it's closed. It goes all the way around, so I'm just going to select this tool right here, the join close. It doesn't look like it did anything, but when I go back up here, now that says it's closed. So the trick in this is we do want closed shapes all the way around. Okay, so now if I try to carve this, this right here is going to cause me a whole lot of grief. So I'm going to show you a trick I learned. I'm going to go up here. We're going to go to our crescent working now. And let's move this to like layer 1 or something just to get it out of the way. Turn off layer 1. Okay, so we're crescent working. Anything I do now will appear in crescent working, and it's going to turn blue. So we'll start with this top one here. We're going to do an offset, and I want it to go outwards 1/2 inch. Now obviously that's way too big for the wrench, but as it's going out, it's kind of smoothing things out. See this point right here makes this big loopy thing. Now I take that same vector, and we're going to go the same distance right back in again and hit offset. Okay, and you can see right off the bat, if I unclick it, I've got a smooth section here, and look right here where all this noise is. I actually get kind of a smooth bump. And if I turn off my crescent outline, so it's still not perfect, but it's a much better vector than what I had. So let's go ahead and do that with the other 2 wrenches. Select the vector, outwards, inwards. There's my dog barking upstairs. I don't know if you can hear that. Same one here. Outwards, inwards. I've done this video so many times now, like there's just going to be stuff in the background and I'm going to post it because I'm so tired of doing this now. Okay. So let's turn off crescent outline. And actually I did that backwards. I should have had that in crescent working the whole time. Let's just add a new layer and we'll call it crescent finish. And we'll give it an important color like, I don't know, dark blue or hex, whatever that was. So I'm going to take just these three, move them to my crescent finish layer, and then turn off everything else. So all I can see is the finish layer. So now we've got these nice smooth-ish cutouts, and that's what I'm going to cut. So I'm going to go over to my toolpath. We're going to make a pocket 3/8 of an inch deep. And as I'm looking at this, I'm remembering one more thing I need to do. I'll go ahead and cut this. So 3/8 of an inch deep. We're using a 1/4 inch end mill. And on my machine at home, I'm using 120 inches a minute because that's the max speed. I could actually set it to 180, but the machine will limit itself to 120. And let's see here, anything else in here? Nope. So we'll just, got to pick the vectors and calculate. And we can preview those. Right, so it's going to make a little pocket just like that. Now as I'm looking at this, I'm remembering, I've done these before, and once that wrench sits in there, how am I going to grab it? I need to put some grab holes in there. So we can go back. I'll just go right on the same layer. I'm just going to make a rectangle about like so. And just to keep it consistent, I'm going to use the same size rectangle for the other one. So I'll just copy and paste. Drag that down there, copy and paste, drag that down there. And as I'm doing this, I'm realizing something. Those wrenches are nowhere near straight in there. So what I can do is I can just take this guy, kind of line him up. That needs to rotate a little bit. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, this guy here. Definitely needs to rotate counterclockwise a little bit. And I can use the lines of the rectangle to kind of get it a visual. And again, this is going in a toolbox. Nobody's going to see it. And this one for sure needs to rotate. Okay. And I'm going to do one more thing while I'm in here. I'm going to group these two together. Group. Group, and group. And what that allows me to do is now I can go and highlight all three of these. And over here on my Align Objects, and if this doesn't appear here, it's this tool right here, Align Selected Objects. I always click this right here, Show Common Tools on Drawing tab. If I unclick that, those are gone down here. So I'm just going to do that. What I want to do is I want to line those up on the left edge. So now all my left edges are lined up. The other thing I want to do is I want them distributed evenly, and that one I actually have to go in here, and I want to space my selections. And you see it move that middle one up, so now I've got equal spacing between them. And what it's looking for is the highest point of this one to the lowest point of this one. That's why the space between the rectangles is a little bit different. Now when I group those, something happened over here. Oh, I have... I'm using a file from last night, so I'm going to delete this one. That one was already there. We're going to pretend that wasn't there at all. Okay, so if I double click on this, it's showing no vectors, because when I group these together, it erased the original vector and made a new one. So I just go like that, select everything. All of my parameters up here are the same, so I can just hit calculate, reset, and preview. And so now I've got little grab holes in there for my handles. Okay, and at this point, we can save that, and we're going to go cut it, and that's what I'm going to show you tomorrow. So today's thing I did during the lock-in, I measured some crescent wrenches, made a CAD drawing, and we're going to go carve it. I'm actually going to film it right now, but you don't get to see it till tomorrow. So at this point, I'm going to sign out. See you tomorrow.